What if everything we have been told about growing older is a whisper from a world that doesn't understand the heart? From the moment we are young, society paints a picture of aging as a process of lessening. We are told it is a slow quieting, a fading of colors, a gradual retreat from the vibrancy of life. We are taught to fear the number 60 as if it were a boundary line beyond which lies only nostalgia and decline. But Buddhism invites us to look closer. In the light of Dhamma, the truth is revealed. Aging is not the dimming of the light, but the clearing of the clouds. For the first 6 decades of your life, you were a climber. You spent your energy ascending the peaks of responsibility. You were a provider, a caregiver, a worker, a striver. Your identity was built on what you did for others and how well you met the world's demands. Your mind was a crowded room filled with the echoes of should and must. Now, as you cross the threshold of 60, the noise begins to change. The climb is over, and you have reached a high plateau. From here, the view is clearer than it has ever been. This is not the sunset of your life. It is the sunrise of your soul. It is the moment when the external roles fall away, leaving behind the most important person you have ever known, yourself. The habit of staying busy. Most of us have spent 40 or 50 years running. We ran toward achievements and ran away from our fears. We became addicted to doing because being felt too quiet, or perhaps too honest. In Buddhism, this is often compared to a monkey swinging from branch to branch, the restless mind. Capicita pais. When you turn 60, the branches start to grow further apart. The world stops asking you to run so fast. This can feel frightening at first. Many people reach this age and feel a sense of lostness or emptiness. Sunyata paas. They wonder, if I'm no longer a boss, a full-time parent, or a constant achiever, then who am I? The Buddhist lesson here is profound. The emptiness you feel is not a void to be feared. It is a sacred space to be inhabited. For years, you were so busy decorating the house of your life that you forgot to actually live in it. Now, the house is quiet. The guests have gone home. The music has stopped. For the first time, you can hear the sound of your own breath. You can feel the weight of your own presence. This is the beginning of the most significant relationship of your existence. Rediscovering your original face. There is a Zen koan that asks, what was your original face before your mother and father were born? At 60, we can ask a similar question. Who are you without your titles? Throughout your life, you wore many masks. You wore the mask of the protector to keep your family safe. You wore the mask of the competitor to survive in your career. You wore the mask of the happy one to make others comfortable. These masks were useful, but they were heavy. Aging is the gentle hand of the universe reaching out to help you take those masks off. As you look in the mirror, you may see wrinkles, and you may see hair that has turned to silver. In the worldly view, these are signs of loss. But in the Buddhist view, these are the textures of a soul that has been refined by fire. Each line is a story of resilience. Each gray hair is a mark of wisdom. You are returning to your original face, the one that doesn't need to impress, doesn't need to hide, and doesn't need to be anything other than exactly what it is. Solitude, the great sanctuary. The core of this chapter and this entire journey is learning to enjoy your own company. To the unpracticed mind, being alone feels like a punishment. It feels like loneliness. But the Buddha spoke highly of viveka, the joy of seclusion or solitude. Solitude is not the absence of people. It is the presence of peace. When you are with others, you are often performing, even if you don't realize it. You are reacting to their moods, answering their questions, and adjusting your energy to match theirs. In solitude, the performance ends. You can finally let your shoulders drop. You can breathe without rhythm. You can think thoughts that have no destination. To enjoy your own company after 60 is to realize that you are enough. You are a complete ecosystem of thought, memory, and awareness. You do not need a witness to make your life valid. If you drink a cup of tea alone and enjoy it, that enjoyment is real. If you watch a bird land on a branch and smile, that smile is sacred. A practical reflection. The guest house of the mind. To begin this new season of your life, try this simple Buddhist-inspired reflection. Find a comfortable chair and sit quietly. Close your eyes and imagine your life as a large, beautiful house. For 60 years, the doors were wide open. People were coming and going. Children were running through the halls. Work projects were piled on the tables. It was loud, chaotic, and full of life. Now imagine the doors gently closing, not because you are shutting the world out, but because the open house event is over. The rooms are now still. Observe the stillness. Does it feel uncomfortable? If so, don't judge the discomfort. Just notice it. Speak to yourself. Say internally, "For 60 years I took care of the guests. Now I take care of the host." Breathe into the space. Feel the air entering your lungs. This air belongs to no one but you in this moment. The promise of the journey. As we move through the next 49 chapters, we will explore how to heal the regrets of the past, how to sit with the physical changes of the body, and how to find a deep, bubbling joy in the simplest of things. But it all starts here, in chapter 1, with a shift in perspective. You are not getting old, you are arriving. You are arriving at a place of clarity that a 20-year-old cannot understand. You are arriving at a depth of compassion that only comes from having your heart broken and healed a dozen times. Welcome to your new life. It is quiet, it is spacious, and it is entirely yours. Let us learn, slowly and gently, how to love the person who has been waiting for you all these years. You. What if the silence of your home is not a sign of emptiness, but a mirror reflecting the shadows you have been running from for decades? In this second step of our journey, we must look at the one thing that keeps most people over 60 from enjoying their own company: the fear of loneliness. To the Buddhist practitioner, there is a vital distinction between being alone and being lonely. Loneliness is a state of mind characterized by a lack, the feeling that something external is missing. Solitude, however, is a state of fullness, the realization that you are already complete. But to move from the ache of loneliness to the peace of solitude, we must first understand why being alone feels so threatening in the first place. The evolution of the fear. For most of your life, you were conditioned to believe that your value was tied to your connectedness. From the tribal roots of humanity, being separated from the group meant danger. In your middle years, this manifested as social and familial obligations. You were needed. You were a hub in a wheel of people. When that wheel slows down, when the children move away, when you retire from your career, or when friends pass away, the ego feels a sense of panic. It feels as though if no one is looking at you, you might cease to exist. This is what Buddhism calls attavada, the attachment to the idea of a permanent social self. We fear loneliness because we have spent 60 years building a self that only exists through the eyes of others. When those eyes are no longer on us, we feel a terrifying void. But this void is not a lack of life. It is simply the absence of the noise that used to define you. Unpacking the shadows of the past. When we sit alone in a quiet room at 60, the silence acts as a megaphone for the unresolved. This is the real reason people stay busy. We use work, television, or constant socializing as a form of anesthesia. We are not running toward people. We are running away from the thoughts that surface when the music stops. In the quiet, the ghosts of the past appear. The what-ifs, the regrets of a failed relationship, the guilt over how you raised your children, or the fear of what comes at the end of life. Buddhism teaches us that these are just sankharas, mental formations. They are like clouds passing through the sky. They are not you, but if you fear them, they will haunt your solitude. To enjoy your own company, you must make peace with these shadows. Instead of turning on the television to drown them out, Buddhism invites you to sit with them. Imagine your regrets and fears as old, tired travelers who have come to your door. You don't have to marry them, and you don't have to believe their stories, but you can offer them a seat and a cup of tea. When you stop fighting the shadows, they lose their power to make you feel lonely. The illusion of elsewhere. The root of loneliness is the belief that happiness is elsewhere. We think, I would be happy if my daughter called, or I would be happy if I had a partner to share this meal with. This is the hungry ghost syndrome, prita-tas. A state of being where we have a giant appetite but a tiny throat, never able to be satisfied by what we have right here. After 60, the opportunity is to heal this hunger. You begin to realize that the daughter's phone call or the friend's visit is a lovely extra, but it cannot be the foundation of your peace. If your house is on fire, you cannot wait for someone else to bring a bucket of water from 3 towns away. You must find the well within your own backyard. The practice of reframing. To move beyond the fear, we must change our internal vocabulary. Instead of saying, I am alone tonight, say, I am in my own company tonight. Instead of saying, no one needs me today, say, today I am free from the demands of others. When you are alone, you are not waiting for life to happen. You are the life that is happening. The way the light hits the floor, the rhythm of your own heartbeat, the taste of a simple piece of fruit. These are profound experiences that do not require a witness. Touching the universal connection. Buddhism offers a final beautiful antidote to loneliness. The realization of interbeing. Even when you are physically alone in your room, you are never truly separate. The air you breathe was exhaled by the trees. The clothes you wear were woven by hands you will never meet. The tea you drink contains the sun, the rain, and the soil. When you sit in solitude, you are sitting with the entire universe. Yourself is not a lonely island. It is a wave in the vast ocean of existence. When you realize this, the fear of loneliness dissolves into a deep sense of belonging. You are not one person alone in a room. You are a conscious part of a grand, unfolding mystery. The lesson of the second chapter. The fear of loneliness is the final hurdle between you and true freedom. Once you realize that you can sit with yourself, with your memories, your aging body, and your quiet thoughts, and not be afraid, you become invincible. You are no longer a beggar for attention. You are a sovereign of your own inner kingdom. As you close this chapter, try to spend just 10 minutes today in total silence. No phone, no book, no music. Just you. If the fear arises, acknowledge it. Say, I see you, fear. And then return to your breath. Notice that even in the silence, you are still here. You are safe. You are enough. For decades, your identity was likely defined by what you did for others. You were the nurturer, the provider, the protector, or the caregiver. These roles were not just tasks. They became the very fabric of who you thought you were. When you wake up after 60 and the house is quiet, when the children are grown and the career has concluded, you may feel a profound sense of loss, as if the person you used to be has vanished. Buddhism teaches us that this loss is actually a liberation. It is the transition from the external self to the inner healer. The burden of the nurturer. The role of the nurturer is a noble one, but it often comes with a hidden cost: self-neglect. Many people over 60 realize they have spent their lives tending to everyone else's garden, while their own has grown wild and untended. You learn to be sensitive to the moods of your spouse, the needs of your children, and the demands of your workplace. You became an expert at fixing things for everyone else. This creates a deep-seated habit of looking outward for purpose. In Buddhist psychology, this is a form of attachment to roles, upadana pace. We cling to being needed because it gives us a sense of worth. But what happens when you're no longer needed in the same way? If you do not shift your focus, you may fall into resentment or a martyr complex, waiting for others to return the care you gave them. The awakening of the self-healer. Shifting from nurturer to self-healer means taking all that compassion, patience, and energy you once gave to the world and directing it inward. It is the realization that your most important client or child is now your own soul. In Buddhism, the concept of metta, loving kindness, must start with the self. If you cannot offer warmth to yourself, your care for others is often just a way to escape your own inner emptiness. After 60, your primary spiritual task is to reparent yourself. This means listening to your body's fatigue without guilt. It means honoring your own emotions without waiting for someone else to validate them. It means becoming the person who can say to your own heart, "It's okay, I am here for you, you are safe with me." Healing the service exhaustion. Many seniors carry a subconscious exhaustion, not just physical, but identity fatigue. You are tired of being the strong one, the wise one, or the one who holds everything together. The Buddhist path of the self-healer gives you permission to lay that burden down. Self-healing at this stage of life isn't about fixing yourself to be better or more productive. It is about restoration. It is about returning to a state of wholeness that existed before the world told you who you had to be. It is about healing the parts of you that were pushed aside for the sake of your family or career. Practical steps to shift identity. To begin this shift, you must start treating your own presence as a sacred duty. Audit your shoulds. When you feel a compulsion to do something for someone else, ask, am I doing this out of genuine love, or am I trying to feel useful? Create a self-care altar. This doesn't have to be religious. It is a space in your home or a time in your day dedicated solely to your own comfort. Practice radical non-doing. Spend time doing things that have zero utility. Sit in the park, watch the clouds. This breaks the habit of the provider who thinks every minute must be productive. The compassion of the elders. There is a beautiful irony in this shift. When you stop obsessively nurturing others and begin healing yourself, you actually become a much more powerful presence in the lives of those you love. A nurturer who is empty inside often gives with a hook, an invisible string of expectation. But a self-healer who is full of their own peace gives like the sun. The sun doesn't ask for anything in return. It just shines because it is full of light. By becoming your own source of happiness after 60, you offer your children and grandchildren the greatest gift possible, the sight of a person who is truly free. You are no longer the one who holds the family. You are the one who illuminates it. This is the transition from the worker to the sage. It is the moment you realize that your presence is more valuable than your service. You have spent 60 years being useful. Now you are invited to be luminous. One of the most profound causes of suffering after 60 is the thief of comparison. In Buddhism, this is known as mana, conceit or pride, which isn't just about feeling superior, but the compulsive habit of measuring your worth against others or against a past version of yourself. To truly enjoy your own company, you must learn to retire the judge who lives in your head. The trap of the golden past. Many people in their 60s and 70s live in a state of constant internal comparison with their younger selves. You might look at a photo from 30 years ago and feel a sense of loss of energy, loss of appearance, or loss of status. The mind says, I used to be able to do this. Or, I used to look like that. Buddhism teaches that this is a form of violence against the present moment. By clinging to a version of yourself that no longer exists, you ignore the person you are right now. The you of 30 years ago is a stranger. Clinging to that ghost prevents you from seeing the unique beauty of your current stage, the wisdom you have now, the depth of your perspective, and the softness of your heart are things your younger self did not yet possess. Comparison as the enemy of peace. In the age of social media and constant connectivity, we also fall into the trap of comparing our inner reality with everyone else's outer appearance. You might see peers who seem more active, travelers who seem more adventurous, or grandparents who seem more successful in their family lives. The Buddha taught that comparison is the thief of joy. When you compare, you are always either better than, worse than, or equal to someone else. All three positions are traps because they keep you dependent on external scales. To find contentment in your own presence, you must exit the scale entirely. Your journey is not a race. It is a solo walk through a forest. The flower does not compare itself to the tree. Both simply bloom in their own time and space. The practice of suchness. The antidote to comparison is the Buddhist concept of suchness. This is the ability to see things exactly as they are, without the layer of judgment. When you look in the mirror, try to see suchness. Instead of saying, "I look old," judgment, simply observe. The hair is gray, the skin is soft. Reality. When you spend a day alone, instead of saying, "I am unproductive," simply observe. The day was quiet, the breath was steady. When you remove the judge, your own company becomes a neutral, peaceful place. You stop being a project that needs to be improved and start being a presence that simply needs to be experienced. Retiring the judge. Most of us have an internal critic that has been shouting for 60 years. It is the voice that told you to work harder, be better, and fit in. After 60, it is time to give this critic a retirement party. You have already done enough. You have survived the storms of life. When the voice of comparison arises, acknowledge it with a smile. Say, "Thank you for trying to protect me for 60 years, but I don't need to compete anymore. I am just being, the freedom of being nobody." There is a sublime joy in realizing you no longer have to be somebody important. When you stop comparing, you find the freedom of nobodiness. You don't have to be the best, the richest, or the most active. You can just be the person sitting on the porch, feeling the wind. This is the secret to enjoying your own company. Becoming a person you actually like to be with. A person who is kind, non-judgmental, and content. When you stop judging yourself, you find that the silence is no longer heavy with shoulds. It is light, spacious, and filled with a quiet, unshakable happiness that no comparison can touch. After 60, one of the most significant shifts you will face is the changing rhythm of your energy and the physical form of your body. In a world that idolizes youth and constant movement, the Buddhist lesson of semi-equanimity becomes your greatest tool for happiness. To enjoy your own company at this stage, you must learn the art of befriending your changing body and embracing the slow path. Chastei, the illusion of the permanent body. Most of our frustration in later life stems from a deep-seated attachment to the body as it was. We treat our bodies like machines that have begun to fail us, rather than as organic, changing vessels. Buddhism teaches the concept of anatta, non-self, the idea that this body is not me or mine in a permanent sense. It is a gift of nature that we are borrowing for a short time. When you feel a new ache in your joints or notice your energy flagging by mid-afternoon, the habitual mind reacts with resistance or sadness. But resistance is what creates the suffering, not the physical sensation itself. By practicing equanimity, you learn to observe these changes without panic. You begin to see your body not as a broken version of a younger self, but as a wise teacher guiding you toward a slower, more deliberate way of living. Finding the sacred slow. In your younger years, speed was a virtue. You hurried through meals, rushed to appointments, and moved through your day with a sense of urgency. After 60, life invites you to discover the sacred slow. This is not a sign of decline. It is an invitation to mindfulness. When you move slowly, you notice things that the rushing self missed for decades. You feel the texture of the floor beneath your feet. You notice the intricate patterns of light on a wall. You taste the complexity of your food. To enjoy your own company is to realize that a slow walk to the mailbox can be as spiritually fulfilling as a marathon, provided you are fully present for it. The slow path allows you to savor your life instead of merely consuming it. Listening to the body's wisdom. The self-healer after 60 becomes a listener. Instead of forcing the body to adhere to a schedule, you learn to ask, what do you need right now? Perhaps it needs a nap, a stretch, or simply a moment of stillness. In Buddhism, this is the practice of kayanupassana, contemplation of the body. By staying present with your physical sensations, you stop living in your head and start living in your skin. You realize that your body is not an enemy to be conquered, but a companion to be cared for. When you treat your body with this kind of tenderness, being alone with yourself becomes a nourishing experience rather than a struggle against limitation. The beauty of wabi-sabi. There is a Japanese aesthetic deeply rooted in Zen Buddhism called wabi-sabi. The beauty of things that are imperfect, impermanent, and incomplete. An old cracked tea bowl is often more prized than a new one because its cracks tell a story of use, survival, and history. Your life after 60 is your wabi-sabi phase. Your scars, your slower pace, and your quiet days are beautiful because they are authentic. When you embrace this, you stop trying to fix your life to look like a magazine cover. You find joy in the imperfection of a quiet afternoon. You find contentment in the fact that you don't have to do it all anymore. You have earned the right to be slow. You have earned the right to be still. The grace of acceptance. To enjoy your own company after 60 is to walk through your day with open hands. When energy comes, you use it with gratitude. When energy fades, you rest with grace. You no longer fight the tides of your own biology. By accepting the slow path, you discover a secret that the busy world will never know, that there is a vast, rich world hidden inside every small moment. You realize that you are not slowing down. You are finally arriving at the speed of life. In this stillness, you find a happiness that is steady, quiet, and deeply your own.
One of the most profound transitions after the age of 60 is the shift from doing to being. For most of your life, your value was measured by your productivity, the money you earned, the chores you completed, and the goals you achieved. This is the worldly wind of gain and loss. To enjoy your own company now, you must learn to dismantle the productivity trap and embrace the Buddhist art of non-doing, or the guilt of the empty calendar. Many people entering their 60s feel a strange sense of guilt or anxiety when they have nothing scheduled. When you sit down to rest, a voice in your head might whisper, you should be doing something useful. This is the internal taskmaster, a mental habit created by years of societal pressure. We have been conditioned to believe that a day without a result is a wasted day. Buddhism teaches us that this restlessness is a form of dukkha, suffering. It comes from the thirst for achievement. But your worth is not a paycheck, and it is not a clean house. Your worth is inherent in your existence. You are a manifestation of the universe, and a flower does not need to achieve anything to be magnificent. It simply blossoms. Practicing aimlessness. In the Zen tradition, there is a beautiful concept called aimlessness. It means you don't put anything in front of you to chase. Usually, we walk to get to a destination. We read to gain information. We meditate to get calm. After 60, you have the rare privilege of doing things for no reason at all. This is where true joy is hidden. Walk without a destination. Just feel the movement of your legs. Sit without an agenda. Don't try to solve a problem or plan a meal. Just sit. Listen without a filter. Hear the birds or the wind without needing to label them. When you practice aimlessness, your own company becomes delightful because there is no pressure. You are no longer your own boss. You are your own friend. You realize that wasting time is actually a holy act of reclaiming your life from the hands of the clock. The quality of presence over quantity of action. Enjoying your own company means shifting your focus from how much you do to how you do it. In your 30s, you might have folded laundry while talking on the phone and thinking about tomorrow's meeting. Now, you can fold one shirt with your full attention. You can feel the warmth of the fabric, the movement of your hands, and the rhythm of your breath. This is Chan Niyam, mindfulness. When you are 100% present in a simple act, that act becomes a meditation. A simple life is not a small life. It is a deep life. By doing less, you allow yourself the space to feel more. You begin to find that the nothingness of a quiet afternoon is actually filled with a rich, golden texture of peace that you were too busy to notice before. Letting go of the future self. We often spend our lives waiting for a future self who will finally be happy, retired, or settled. At 60, you are that future self. The search is over. If you continue to chase productivity, you are still running away from the present. The Buddhist lesson here is that the finish line is right under your feet. Every time you stop doing and start being, you are winning. You are proving to yourself that you don't need to perform to be worthy of love and peace. The peace of a day well lived. At the end of a day after 60, don't look at your to-do list to see if you were successful. Instead, ask yourself, how many times was I truly present? How many moments did I meet with a smile? How many breaths did I take with awareness? When you release the need to be productive, you become truly free. You can sit in your favorite chair for an hour, watching the shadows move across the wall, and feel a deep sense of accomplishment. Not because you did anything, but because you were there to witness the miracle of life unfolding. This is the ultimate luxury of aging, the freedom to simply be.
One of the most significant burdens we carry into our 60s is the weight of unfinished stories. The regrets, the should-have-beens, and the old resentments that linger in the corners of our minds. To truly enjoy your own company, you must practice the Buddhist art of right release. You cannot feel light in the present if you are still dragging the heavy luggage of the past. Hamsaniya, the myth of the perfect past. Regret is a form of mental time travel where we punish our current selves for the lack of wisdom our younger selves had. The mind says, if only I had taken that job. Or Shamo, I should have treated that person differently. In Buddhism, this is seen as a failure to understand, impermanence, and contingent causality. The person who made those mistakes 30 or 40 years ago no longer exists. They acted based on the information, the maturity, and the circumstances they had at that time. To hold a grudge against your younger self is to hold a grudge against a stranger. To find peace in your solitude today, you must grant that younger version of yourself a full pardon. You must recognize that every detour was part of the path that brought you to the wisdom you possess right now. Forgiveness as an act of self-love. We often think of forgiveness as something we do for others, but in the later chapters of life, forgiveness is the ultimate act of self-care. Holding on to anger toward a former spouse, a distant child, or a difficult colleague is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. In Buddhist practice, we use metta, loving kindness, to dissolve these knots. When you sit alone, notice who shows up in your mind with a sting of pain. Instead of pushing them away, breathe and say, I release you from my judgment. I release myself from this weight. Forgiveness does not mean that what happened was right. It simply means you are no longer willing to let a past event steal your current peace. You are reclaiming the emotional space that resentment has been occupying for free. The purge of mental clutter. Just as we declutter our homes as we age, we must declutter our mental landscapes. After 60, you have less emotional runway left, and you cannot afford to waste it on old arguments. Enjoying your own company means creating a clean room in your heart. This involves a conscious decision to stop retelling the stories of your victimhood. We all have stories where we were treated unfairly. But at this stage, ask yourself, does this story serve my happiness today? If the answer is no, let it go. In the silence of your 60s, you have the power to rewrite your narrative. Not as a victim of circumstances, but as a survivor who has found peace. Living with zero balance. There is a beautiful concept of living with a zero balance, not in your bank account, but in your heart. It means that when you go to sleep at night, you owe no one any anger, and you owe yourself no more guilt. Every evening, practice a brief review of the day. If a regret surfaced, breathe it out. If a judgment arose, let it dissolve. Do not let the interest on old pain accumulate. By clearing the ledger daily, you ensure that when you sit in solitude tomorrow, the silence feels welcoming rather than haunting. The lightness of being. As you let go of the what-ifs, you will notice a physical sensation of lightness. Your shoulders drop. Your breath becomes deeper. You realize that the past is a dream, and the future is a projection. Only this moment is real. To be 60 and unburdened is to be wealthier than a king. When you enjoy your own company because your mind is no longer a courtroom of judgments, you have achieved the heart of the Buddhist path. You become a person who is easy to be with, both for others and, most importantly, for yourself. You are no longer haunted by who you were. You are enchanted by who you are becoming. As you navigate life after 60, you will notice a natural shift in your social landscape. Friendships may drift, social circles may shrink, and the bustling house of your middle years may become a quiet sanctuary. In the secular world, this is often viewed as loss. But in Buddhist wisdom, this is the transition into the season of selective connection. To enjoy your own company, you must learn to value quality of presence over quantity of interaction. The illusion of social safety in numbers. For many decades, we equated being busy with being valued. We measured the success of our lives by the size of our address books or the frequency of our social engagements. Buddhism calls this upadana, clinging to identity through others. We used people as mirrors to tell us who we were. After 60, the mirrors begin to fade. If you continue to chase the social high of your younger years, you will find yourself feeling lonely, even in a crowd. The Buddhist lesson here is to stop seeking distraction through others and start seeking resonance. You no longer need 50 acquaintances. You need the peace that comes from a few meaningful connections and, most importantly, the deep connection with your own soul. Cultivating noble friendship. The Buddha once said that noble friendship is not just half of the holy life, but the entirety of it. However, a noble friend is not just someone you gossip with or kill time with. A noble friend is someone who encourages your peace, respects your silence, and understands your path. As you spend more time alone, you become more sensitive to the energy of your social interactions. You may find that certain relationships now feel draining or noisy. This is not a sign that you are becoming grumpy. It is a sign that your spirit is seeking subtlety. Enjoying your own company means giving yourself permission to be selective. You can bless those who no longer align with your peace and gently let them go, making room for the ultimate noble friend, yourself. The art of being alone together. One of the most beautiful skills to develop after 60 is the ability to be with others without losing yourself. Often, when we are with people, we feel the pressure to perform, to talk, to entertain, or to agree. Buddhist practice teaches us to bring our solitude into our relationships. This means you can sit with a friend or a spouse in comfortable silence, both of you present, neither of you needing to fill the space with empty words. When you are no longer afraid of silence within yourself, you stop fearing it in your relationships. Your connections become deeper because they are rooted in being rather than doing. From needing to giving. When we fear being alone, we enter relationships as beggars. We are looking for someone to fill our void or take away our boredom. This creates a hidden tension. But when you learn to enjoy your own company, you enter a room as a giver. You are already full. You don't need the other person to make you happy. You simply enjoy their presence as an extension of your own joy. This shift transforms your relationship with your children and grandchildren. Instead of being the needy elder, waiting for a visit to feel valid, you become the stable elder who is a source of calm. Your solitude becomes the well from which you draw the love you give to others. Honoring the inner circle. In this season of selective connection, your inner circle starts with you, then expands to a few trusted souls, and finally reaches out to the world through karuna, compassion. You don't need to be at every party to be connected to humanity. When you sit alone in your garden, you can practice sending metta, loving kindness, to all beings. You realize that you are connected to the world through your heart, not just through your physical presence. This is the highest form of social life, a heart that is wide open to the world, even when the front door is closed. You are alone, but you are in harmony with everyone. After 60, one of the most transformative shifts in your spiritual journey is the transition from seeking to noticing. For decades, your mind was likely oriented toward the future, searching for the next achievement, the next vacation, or the next milestone. Buddhism teaches that this searching is a form of subtle agitation. To truly enjoy your own company, you must master the art of ordinary magic, finding the profound within the mundane. The myth of the grand event. In our younger years, we are taught that happiness is something that happens on occasion. It is a wedding, a promotion, a big purchase, or a grand adventure. We become peak hunters, always looking for the next high. But after 60, physical energy and life circumstances often make these grand events less frequent. If your happiness depends on the extraordinary, your daily life will feel empty. Buddhism offers the concept of santi, peace, over sukha, pleasurable excitement. Peace is not a high peak, it is the steady ground. When you learn to enjoy your own company, you realize that the most magical moments are not the ones that take your breath away, but the ones that allow you to breathe deeply. Savoring the micro-miracles. To practice the art of noticing, you must lower your threshold for what counts as a good day. In the quiet of your home, there are 1,000 micro-miracles happening every hour. The light, how it changes from gold to blue as the afternoon wanes. The water, the sensation of warmth on your skin as you wash your hands. The silence, the richness of a room where nothing is being demanded of you. In Buddhist mindfulness, this is called sampajana, clear comprehension. It is the ability to see the sacredness in the boring. When you are alone, you have the time to look at a single leaf or watch a steam cloud rise from your soup. In those seconds of pure observation, the self disappears, and only the experience remains. This is where suffering ends, and joy begins. Turning routines into rituals. When you live alone or spend much of your time in your own company, daily chores can feel like repetitive burdens. However, the Buddhist path invites you to turn these routines into rituals. Washing a dish is not a task to get over with so you can do something else. It is an act of caring for your life. Sweeping the floor is an act of clearing your mind. When you imbue these small actions with your full presence, you are never bored. Boredom is simply the mind's refusal to see the wonder in the present. By treating your life as a series of sacred rituals, you communicate to yourself that your existence, even in its simplest form, is worthy of reverence. The joy of nothing special. There is an old Zen saying, "Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. The tasks don't change, but the person doing them does." To enjoy your own company after 60 is to arrive at the stage of nothing special. You don't need to be a hero, a martyr, or a star. You can find total contentment in a day where nothing happened. You didn't buy anything, you didn't win anything, and you didn't go anywhere. And yet, because you were present for your tea, your breath, and your thoughts, it was a perfect day. Cultivating the eye of wonder. As you age, the world often expects you to become cynical or weary. Buddhism encourages the opposite, a beginner's mind. Shoshinno. Look at your own living room as if you were a traveler seeing it for the first time. Notice the colors, the shadows, and the history of the objects around you. When you live with wonder, your own company becomes a source of endless fascination. You realize that you are living in a masterpiece of existence, and you are the only one who can truly appreciate your unique view of it. This ordinary magic is the secret to a happy old age. It is the realization that you don't need more to be happy. You just need to see more of what you already have. As you deepen your relationship with yourself after 60, you will inevitably encounter the concept of anatta, non-self. In your earlier years, your ego was a necessary tool. It helped you build a career, protect your family, and establish your place in the world. But after 60, the hard ego, the part of you that is rigid, defensive, and obsessed with me, myself, and mine, often becomes a cage. To truly enjoy your own company, you must learn the art of the soft ego, becoming a person who is flexible, light, and less attached to being right, the burden of being someone. Many people carry a heavy statue of self into their senior years. This is the collection of all your past titles, your strong opinions, and your way of doing things. When you live alone or spend time in solitude, this rigid ego often creates friction. You might find yourself getting angry at small changes or feeling offended by the way the world is moving. In Buddhism, this is seen as the suffering of sankhara dukkha, the stress of holding a complex identity together. To be someone is exhausting. To be someone requires constant defense. But to be no one in particular is a profound relief. Enjoying your own company becomes much easier when you stop trying to maintain a reputation with yourself. You can be messy, you can be curious, and you can be a beginner again, softening the walls of opinion. One of the greatest joys of aging in a Buddhist way is the gradual letting go of the need to have a final opinion on everything. In your youth, your opinions were your armor. Now, they are often just walls that separate you from the present moment. The soft ego practices sunyata, openness or emptiness. This doesn't mean your mind is blank. It means you are not fused with your thoughts. When a political change happens, or when a neighbor does something you dislike, the soft ego observes the feeling without needing to launch an internal war. You realize that your opinions are just mental weather. By softening your grip on being right, you make your inner world a much more spacious and comfortable place to live, from identity to flow. After 60, the body changes, roles change, and the future changes. If your ego is hard like a rock, the waves of life will break you. If your ego is soft like water, you simply flow with the changes. Buddhism invites you to see yourself as a process, not an object. You are not a 60-year-old retired teacher. You are a flow of awareness, memories, sensations, and kindness. When you sit in solitude, don't try to find a solid self. Instead, enjoy the flow. Notice how one thought leads to another, how a memory arises and dissolves, and how your breath moves in and out. This flow is much more interesting to live with than a stagnant identity. The practice of humility and humor. A soft ego is accompanied by two beautiful companions, humility and humor. To enjoy your own company, you must be able to laugh at yourself. When you forget where you put your keys or find yourself talking to the plants, a hard ego feels embarrassed or worried about decline. A soft ego finds the humor in the human condition. Humility after 60 is the realization that you don't have to carry the world on your shoulders. You are a small, beautiful part of a massive universe. This smallness is not an insult. It is a liberation. It means you can stop performing. You can sit in your garden and feel the same importance as the blade of grass or the passing cloud. The lightness of a transparent heart. As the ego softens, the heart becomes transparent. You stop hiding from yourself. You stop pretending you aren't afraid or lonely. You meet your own vulnerabilities with a gentle yes. This is the ultimate secret of enjoying your own presence, becoming a person who has nothing to hide from themselves. When your ego is soft, there is no inner conflict. There is only a quiet, transparent awareness. You move through your house and your days with a sense of lightness of being, knowing that you are not the roles you played, but the love and awareness that remain when those roles are gone. You are free to be exactly who you are, moment by moment. As you enter your 60s, the world around you may naturally become quieter. Career noise fades. The house becomes stiller, and the constant buzz of social demands begins to drop away. Most people interpret this silence as a void, a lack of activity. But in Buddhist wisdom, silence is not empty. It is a profound presence. To enjoy your own company after 60, you must learn the art of mindful listening, shifting from hearing noise to hearing the song of silence. silence is not the absence of sound. In our modern lives, we are conditioned to fear silence. We fill it with the television, the radio, or constant mental chatter. We treat silence as a blank canvas that we must paint over as quickly as possible. This is what Buddhism calls vikara, or a restless mental evaluation that never stops. However, the Buddha often retreated to the forest to find passaddhi, tranquility. He knew that silence is the mother of wisdom. When you stop trying to drown out the quiet, you begin to realize that silence has its own vibration, its own texture, and its own comfort. To listen to silence is to listen to the universe without the interference of your own ego, hearing the inner rhythm. When you are alone and quiet, you have the rare opportunity to listen to your inner rhythm. For 60 years, your internal clock was set by others, by the alarm clock, the school bell, or the corporate deadline. Now you can listen to the authentic rhythm of your own body and soul. Listen to your breath. Notice the subtle sound of the air entering and leaving. It is a song that has been playing for 60 years. Yet how often have you truly listened to it? Listen to your heart, not just the physical beat, but the emotional tone of your day. Are you feeling heavy, light, curious? Listen to your thoughts. Instead of thinking the thoughts, try hearing them as if they were birds chirping outside. When you listen to your thoughts without being swept away by them, they lose their power to disturb you. Deep listening to the world, sunnatamam. Mindful listening also extends to the small sounds of your solitary life. In Buddhism, this is part of sati, mindfulness. When you are alone, the world speaks to you in whispers. The sound of the wind in the trees, the hum of the refrigerator, the distant sound of a car passing, or the ticking of a clock. Usually we ignore these sounds because they are unimportant. But when you listen to them deeply, they become anchors to the present moment. They remind you that you are part of a living, breathing reality. You aren't alone. You are an audience member in the grand symphony of existence. Healing the inner noise. Much of the unhappiness we feel in our own company comes from inner noise, the repetitive loops of worry, judgment, and planning. Mindful listening teaches you that you don't have to agree with the noise. When the mind starts to shout about a regret or a fear, treat it like a noisy neighbor. You hear the sound, you acknowledge it is there, but you don't have to open the door and invite it in for tea. By listening to your inner critic, rather than being your inner critic, you create a space of freedom. The silence becomes a buffer that protects your peace. The practice of holy listening. Try this for 15 minutes today. Sit in your favorite spot and do nothing but listen. First, listen to the furthest sound you can hear. A plane, a distant dog, the wind. Then listen to the sounds within the room. The settling of the house, the hum of electronics. Finally, listen to the sounds within your body. Your breath, your pulse, the quietness itself. As you practice this, you will find that you are never truly bored or lonely. The world is too full of music for that. You begin to appreciate your own company because you realize your mind is a sanctuary where you can hear the truth. After 60, silence becomes your most loyal companion, a teacher that doesn't use words, but gives you all the answers you need.